Hi, my name is Reese, and today I'm going to be giving my presentation. And my first topic is going to be how the Spanish, Dutch, French, and English all had their different approaches with the Native Americans, some being extremely harsh and some being extremely kind to them. Some of them were extremely similar. After reading and studying it, you can really tell that a mass differences and similarities. But first, I'm going to talk about the Dutch, which they were the first Europeans to arrive in the Americas, and their goals were to acquire wealth and to extremely spread Christianity. They also established a system which forced the Native Americans to work for them, and they really wanted the Native Americans to completely convert to Christianity, no matter if that meant forcing them, no matter if that meant just like forcefully, completely trying to get them to convert to Christian. And they also treated them completely harshly and forced them to work for them, which this turned out to become a decline of the Native Americans, which was due to the overwork, disease, and violence that occurred. And they completely started to get sick, get diseases, and it was just extremely horrible. Okay, so the next topic is the Dutch. The Dutch primarily focused on fur trade with the Native Americans, and they formed alliances with the Native Americans, and they didn't want to disrupt the Native Americans' life, and they tried to remain peaceful with the Native Americans, and they tried to just not disrupt their life as much as they could. Even though some conflicts did occur within the Dutch and the Native Americans, but they honestly just tried to stick to trade with them and keep it as peaceful as they could. Now on to the French. The French were very similar to the Dutch in many ways. Like, they pretty much revolved around fur trade, but they were also very peaceful with the Native Americans. Even the French traders would get married to the Native American women, if that does not tell you enough. And that helped create strong alliances and honestly kept the peace within them. They even learned the Native American language that helped with many things like negotiating trade deals, and that pretty much helped maintain peace with them. And the French did try to convert the native people to Christianity, but they were way more respectful and like understanding than the Spanish. The Spanish were just very rude and not nice to the Native Americans, which the French were completely different, and they decided to take a different approach, and if it didn't work, they would back off. Now on to the English. The English just wanted permanent colonies and new societies for the Americas, but this, however, did lead to the displacement of many Native Americans. But as we can see, which we saw with the Pilgrims, is they were pretty peaceful at first, but then the English started to expand, and this led to conflicts over land and resources, and the English viewed them as pretty much obstacles, and they engaged in wars and skirmishes and many things. But unlike the Spanish or the others, they were less focused on converting the Native Americans tribes and more on acquiring land, pretty much. Overall, I think that the Spanish pretty much just did not care. They did not care if the Native Americans did not want to do the things that they wanted them to do. They just wanted them to pretty much bow down to them. They did not care about forming alliances with them. They just wanted to be superior to them and for pretty much the Native Americans to bow down to them and do anything that they said. I think that the Dutch pretty much prioritized the trade and created alliances for that. They kept it as peaceful as they could. Obviously, there were some times where they did not get along, but pretty much they wanted to just keep the peace within them. And the French also pretty much, I think that the French and the Dutch, in my opinion, were pretty similar because they pretty much focused on trade. And then for the English, they just aimed to establish their colonies, and sometimes it was at the expense of the Native Americans. I feel like there were times where they were peaceful, there were times where they weren't peaceful, but obviously none of them were as bad as the way that the Spanish treated them. The English obviously had some points where they were very peaceful with the Native Americans, but some points where they weren't.